Hey, this is the second episode in Paper World Tutorials. And in this one we'll be creating a new scene with Paper Scene Creator. So to start, we will open this new scene composition in the new scenes folder. This will be the base for our scene. And we have this open here already. So let's say that we want to make a scene in forest environment and we want to add some animated elements here like a burning fire and some plants and overall more layers, so there is more detail and depth in this scene. So the way adding new elements to the scene is done is not by dragging and dropping them into the scene, but by replacing the element layers. So to have more layers here, I will select the last one, or you can select any of the element layers here, these beige ones, then duplicate it first. And now I can replace this duplicate with another element I want to use. And I will find a scene frame elements. In this folder, I have inside forest folder earth element, this one. I will first check that this new duplicate layer in the scene is selected, then select this new layer I want to use and holding down Alter option, drag this on top of this one and release. Now there's an earth element inside the scene and we will add here another one. Command D to duplicate again. This time I will use this Earth 2 element. So first select a new one here. Then the element I want to use, and again by replacing this, holding down Alter option, I will replace this layer. Okay, and now we can adjust the position and scale and other properties of these elements in the scene. So there are two ways where you can do it. The usual way to press P and Shift S and R, which reveal the properties of this layer. We can change these here, or then we can also use the transform effect on effect controls panel. And I will use this way. So I want this earth layer to be the second one. I want to raise the second one on y-axis, so I will change this. Yeah, it was not raised but lowered, so we need to put a smaller value here. Okay, and this earth 1 layer I will move down a bit. And we also want to add an animated fire element here. So again, I will just select this last layer because I want the fire to be after that. So let's make a duplicate of this. Select the new one, the duplicate, and then we will find the fire element, which is in elements folder, in animated elements, and in camping elements. And here is this fire for burning, which I want to use. So again, by replacing, I will drag this into the scene. And we can now make this fire much bigger using the scale on transform effect. Okay, and I will also add here some clouds. Again, I will duplicate this. And clouds we will use, for clouds we'll use static elements, so in this folder. And again I will replace this with the cloud layer. And then we'll change the scale and position for this one. And I will make one more duplicate of this cloud layer and use the same element twice, but this one I will, for this one I will change the position. So now there are two elements of clouds, and one is from the left from the fire and the other one is right from the fire. Okay, so we have added now some elements into the scene, and now we'll take a look at how we can change the look of the scene using these control layers. So when you click on the main controls layer, you can see here are a bunch of controls, and all these are also animatable except the checkboxes, which are animatable but only on or off. So mainly you would use for animating the look change with these color controls and the numerical controls. So what are these? The first is scene color, and we will make this scene look like the light is coming from back. So we will change the scene color to something like a warm, darker yellow. Then we'll change the shadow color to a lighter yellow. Maybe not so light. Yeah, something like this. And we'll also change the shadow properties. So shadow size is what is the start size for the shadow for the first layer, and size coefficient is how much shadow is growing for every next layer. Then shadow opacity is exactly this, changes the opacity. And noise you don't usually need to change so much, and also the coefficient is how much noise is added. So paper edge color, this is also when making a backlit scene, it's good to use a light color for this, a lighter yellow for this scene. And paper edge coefficient, we can keep this the same. Perspective color, this is something that occurs also in real world, in real life. For example, if you are looking at the landscape of mountains, then you can see that the mountains that are very far have some color cast, for example blue. If the sky is blue, or during sunset they have an orange cast. And every mountain which is placed closer to you, has less of this color cast. So it occurs in real life because air has some particles and it reflects light. So this is what perspective color here mimics, or tries to give the same look to the scene. And you can animate or change this strength. So if you don't want to use any perspective color, the strength is on 0 and the maximum value is 100. So we will use here the maximum value of 100. So you can see how this works. And when we change this color to dark brown, you can now see that this added this dark brown color gradually to the layers of in your scene. So right now this is the darkest color is on the first layer, and layers on the back have least of this color added. And we can also turn this effect the other way around. So clicking on this from light to dark, making this active, you can see this this effect is turned around. So you can use it one way or another. It depends really on your scene, what you're trying to create, and depending also on your color. For this backlit scene, we will use this from dark to light. So I will uncheck this checkbox here. And the next control is Z position. This one sets the distance between these 3D layers. So when you're animating your camera, the longer the distance here, the bigger the value for Z position, the more parallax movement there will be, or parallax effect. So if you put this on 0, then all the elements are on the same distance from camera and there is no parallax, and with a bigger value they are pushed away from the camera to the distance more. And layer scale control is sometimes good to use if just setting things closer to camera with one step. Shadow direction. This is also very useful if you want to. So there are two controls here for directional shadow. You can set the size bigger, and then the light looks like coming from one side or from this direction that you set here. So to change the direction of this shadow, you just drag this control here. So for this layer we are not changing these because we don't need a directional shadow for this backlit scene. And after you have set your scene settings, you may want to turn off the color settings for some layers. For example, here we are using this fire for burning, and we want our fire to be really bright and not have this color cast at all. So I can select this layer and turn off these, using the effect controls panel, turn off these two color effects, scene colors and perspective color. And by just turning these effects off, the fire will have its original color, which is white in this case. So it's really bright now. And we will even add a glow to this fire, because you can add whatever effects you want to these elements. So I will just add a glow effect. And we will make this glow really big. Okay, and now because we want this scene to look like it's backlit, we also want to change this dark background. And to change background, one way to use something that you exactly know what you are going after is to use scene templates, which are included with this template. So these are in template scenes folder here. And when we open this up, you can see there are a bunch of templates here. And I know that this backlit scene is, for example, City 1. And when we open this scene, you can see it looks like it's sunset or morning. So the back is really light and the elements are dark against the light. And we can just go here and take this background, which works, and copy this to another scene, into our new scene. So this is one good way to use these templates, just to take parts of them or some settings and copy them into your new scenes. We will place it above this background here, Command B. And the background layer can be either 2D or 3D, depending what you're after. So we will delete now this extra background layer. So instantly this looks much better, and it's more like the light is coming from the back. And there is another controls layer here in every scene, advanced controls. And this is something that gives more this a better real life look to your scenes. You can here turn on the camera blur or depth of field. So when we turn this on, you can see some of the layers are not so much in focus than the first ones, but when we change the value to something bigger, so let's make this this effect stronger. So now you can see it much better. This is blurred and the foreground is in focus. And here is the third control here. This says which layer is in focus, and you can animate this one. So we will make a keyframe here. Right now this is layer number, which is in focus. It's 5. And 5 is our first trees layer here. So now when we go to the somewhere in between of our animation, let's say here, And then I will set the focus so that the fire is in focus instead. And fire is layer number 10. Now when I change this and create a new keyframe, which is created automatically when I change the value here, then we can see that the fire is now in focus and the foreground is blurred. So you can really turn this effect value here up and get some really nice results with this. And this is also great because you can it keeps the layers you have set to in focus even after you animate your camera. So we can now go back in the beginning of our animation to the first frame, and using cam control I will just create here a simple zoom in. So first keyframe here, and somewhere at 3 seconds we will zoom the camera in. You can see that our fire is still in focus as we set before the camera animation. So these scene settings and the 2 control layers here make it very, very easy to build these scenes, and you can think of this as a stage. You put your elements and your characters here if you want to, and you can easily animate your cameras and focus change and the overall look and colors of your scene. So the only thing when you animate this focus on layer, one thing to keep in mind here under advanced controls is that if you change the layer order here, for example drag one layer, the fire layer to another place, then you need to check which layer is in focus and maybe to change the keyframes. Okay, so this was about Paper Scene Creator, and next episode is about making custom elements. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and if you want to get notified when we add more tutorials, click on that subscribe button below. And thank you again for watching, and bye.